All right, we were just talking with Bob Gibson of Russell County, Virginia, member of the school board there. So it's not just the federal government, the federal Department of Education that is, pushing this agenda. It's coming from states. I'm telling you, the educational lobby is left and it's intense. I faced it when I was in office. They're pushing an agenda that is contrary to what most Americans have. But you see this like in Russell County, where a school board's stepping up and standing up, representing the people. And by the way, now some of them would probably do it anyway. I think Mr. Gibson probably would anyway. But some of these school boards will take that stand if the parents are standing. So parents, it's important that you show up to these school board meetings and let your voice be heard. And if the school board, like we saw in Loudoun County, refuses to respond to the parents, then replace them. Also, I would say this as a footnote, it's better not to have your kids in the public school anyway, but that's a conversation for another day. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Meg Kilgannon, FRC Senior Fellow for Education Studies. Meg, welcome back.
Thank you, Tony. It's great to be here. We've had quite a week in education this week.
Well, I think every week as educators, we're ramping back up for the fall for classrooms to be open. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But first, before I move on, you heard me talking with Bob Gibson of Russell County there, the school board. That school board last week standing up to the Department of Education there in Richmond. Is this beginning to spread? Are other school boards being encouraged to stand up?
Other school boards are being encouraged to stand up, and Russell County is a wonderful example of what can happen when school boards refuse to go along. As Mr. Gibson so plainly explained, they already have policies in place that prevent bullying and prevent harassment and offer recourse if you experience those behaviors, no matter how you identify as a student. And so to set a special set of policies for a particular group of people really in that case isn't necessary. And I'm sure that most school systems all across the country have the same sorts of anti-bullying and anti-harassment policies. So Mr. Gibson did a great job of explaining why they don't need to follow the model policy from Richmond. They don't care to do so, and they're not going to do so. So good for him.
Now, as I mentioned, obviously Russell County was responsive to the parents, and they took a stand. Other counties, not so much so. We've been talking about Loudoun County, where they just basically, the arrogance that was displayed there was mind-boggling for me, just to see how they even shut down the parents and pulled the plug on public comment there at their school board meeting. So there are resources that FRC Action has for parents who, feel inclined at this moment in time to step into the arena and make a difference in their local school system by running for the school board. Tell our listeners what's available for them.
We have a lot of wonderful resources on our website at frcaction.org/schools. We have our school board boot camp up. We have the 4-hour presentation broken down into segments for folks. So you can watch the segment on what's it like to be a school board, or you can watch the segment on what kind of issues are facing school boards. You can learn how to run a campaign, or you can learn about starting a PAC, running a recall campaign, or just running a parents group, where you can watch all of them. But they're there for you. In addition, there are other resources there too. We're really excited to have those up, and hope that people will take advantage of the material there, and let us know at schools at frcaction.org. Email us there and let us know what you'd like to see next. We have some ideas about our future panels, but I want to do what people need help with. So we're working on a FOIA panel right now to explain to folks how to ask for records from government agencies and schools. We need to be looking at our board of supervisors, at our school boards, at all of our departments of health, all of the government agencies involved in our lives. We need to exercise our due diligence, because in America, our government is of, by, and for the people. And so we as citizens need to do our part to make sure our government is doing its part.
Right. That's what I've always say about being spectators. Our republic was not made for spectators, it was made for participants. And when we simply become spectators, they do what they want, and we end
Correct.
up with what we have. And that's why people have got to be involved. So you can go to frcaction.org, find out these resources, or go to tonyperkins.com. We'll have a link there for you. All right, Wednesday night, President Biden had a town hall meeting in Cincinnati, Ohio with CNN's Don Lemon. Of course, that was entertaining. But one of the things was talked about was vaccines for children, talked about masks as we're returning back to school. So I want to play a couple of these clips that came from the Wednesday night town hall meeting. First, let's play clip number 4 as the president talks about masks in schools.
Everyone under the age of 12 should probably be wearing a mask in school. That's probably what's going to happen. Secondly, those over the age of 12 who are able to get vaccinated, if you're vaccinated, you shouldn't wear a mask. If you aren't vaccinated, you should be wearing a mask.
First off, the evidence suggests that children are not at, unless they're in a high-risk category, the vaccine doesn't do them a whole lot of good, and they don't necessarily need to be vaccinated. But now we're talking about masks. There's been reports. In fact, there was a Journal of Association of American Medicine had a, let's see if I can find it, originally a piece that was pulled for political purposes that talks about the harms of wearing masks by children. It was removed. The author of that article says that it was driven by politics.
Right. Right. I think you can ask any mom or dad if it's a good idea for, a 6 or an 8-year-old to have a piece of cloth tied to their face all day long at school, going in and out of the bathrooms, in and out of every place. And is that sanitary or healthy? And most of them will say, no, it's probably not a good idea. There haven't been good guidelines about using masks. How often should you clean them? Should they be paper or reusable? All of those debates. I mean, that aside, there isn't science to support this. It seems like more of the push to vaccinate every single person in the United States. And I can imagine if I were in school and some children had to wear a mask and some children didn't, I would want to be in the group that wasn't wearing a mask. And that is concerning because I guess we're going to risk getting banned again from YouTube by bringing this up again, but I think it's important for parents to hear. The Biden administration, through the Department of Education, is suggesting that schools open on-site vaccine clinics in schools. They've written to superintendents of schools and recommended that they open on-site vaccine sites in schools. So it's easy to imagine that a student whose parents do not want them to be vaccinated would be in school, and because that child wasn't vaccinated, he'd be required to wear a mask. And that really is no fun a lot of the time. And so you can imagine a case where a child would just go and get vaccinated so they didn't have to wear the mask. And would the parent be called? Would consent be sought? We have no way of knowing. But we can certainly see the potential dangers of this situation. And it is another example of the many ways that our system is set up to disregard parent rights and forward the agenda of the people in charge.
And again, I'm not anti-vaccines. I'm not anti-COVID shot.
Right.
I just think you need to have all of the facts. And, we hear this all the time from the left, follow the science.
Sure.
It's interesting. They like to cover up the science they don't like. This was, as I made reference to this mask, there was a study. A lead author of a now retracted research note that claimed children's masks trap dangerously high concentrations of carbon dioxide. This was according to the Journal of the American Medical Association Pediatrics. They decided to pull the paper. The author of that, Harold Wallach, said that it was politically motivated. It was first published in June, but then it was removed. He said he's never had anything like this before. So we're having a lot of these things that are being done by politics. Of course, You made reference to YouTube. YouTube took down one of our videos when we weren't giving medical advice. We were just saying parents need to be involved in any medical decisions pertaining to their children. That's fundamental.
Absolutely.
Well, because the Biden administration is in this cabal with the social media and saying that, they're flagging stuff for Facebook and other social media giants, we now have a tremendous attack on the First Amendment where we can't even have a conversation about what is appropriate for parents in terms of the relationship with their children. And Meg, I think what this is going to lead to is more parents pulling their kids out of public education because of these onerous, politically decided, not science-based decisions that are, masking their children, forcing their children by bullying and other means to take medical steps that they would not normally take.
Right. It's a form of othering, right? And on the one side, they will say that a gender-confused student may be othered by policies that don't allow gender-affirming care or the use of an opposite-sex bathroom. But on the other hand, they don't mind othering students who are unvaccinated and making them wear a mask, and having students who are vaccinated be free to not wear a mask. It's all about what the end result is for them, and does it fit with their political agenda, and if the policy does, then we'll go with that policy. The legitimate debate about the science, we would have a much, for lack of a better term, a much healthier discussion of this issue if we were allowed to, in fact, discuss it freely across all platforms. I think that would do a lot to make everybody just sort of calm down and have a conversation, a reasoned conversation. But when only one side of the argument is allowed to be spoken, it makes people suspicious.
And I think that the issue that the administration is having, which has led them to enter into this relationship with big tech to silence people who would question what they're doing, if they allowed for that free exchange of ideas and questions to be raised, I actually think the level of vaccination would increase. I think. Right. Because people thinking, wait a minute, you don't want me to talk about this? Why? There must be something going on here.
Right.
And so I think they've created this untrusting atmosphere.
They have, and it's perpetuated by these the big tech overlords that just shut down any and all debate about the topic. Anytime anything's posted on our FRC social media that has anything to do with the coronavirus or COVID-19 has a warning label on it, essentially, that says, if you want more information about COVID-19, click here. I mean, that makes people wary. It really it makes people wonder, why can't I just read this article that I'm trying to read? Why do I have to read what you tell me to read?
It's Orwellian. It's the Ministry of Truth that they have in operation. Speaking of trusting in parents, I want to play another clip from Joe Biden's town hall meeting on Wednesday night. Play clip number 2, please.
So it's going to get a little bit tight in terms of, are mom or dad being honest that, Johnny did or did not get vaccinated? That's going to raise questions. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see this work out in ways that people are going to know in the community. Everybody knows in the community whether or not Johnny really did get the vaccination when he's 15 or 17 years old. And so I think it's a matter of community responsibility, and I think you're going to see it work through.
We can't really trust parents as to whether or not their kids got the vaccine or something. We're going to have to fix this ourselves. Communities, it's all going to work out. I'm not sure what he means by it's all going to work out. I think this sows more distrust and fear of what government may be wanting to do.
Since when does everybody know about people's personal private medical information? I mean, no, my children are all vaccinated with the standard vaccines that you get in childhood, but they don't have any sort of branding on their bodies to indicate that. I mean, this is just really kind of scary.
Makes you wonder what they have planned.
It does that.
Meg, we're almost out of time. I want to thank you for joining us. As always, thanks for being such a great resource on the FRC team as to what's happening in education across America.
Thank you, Tony. It's always a pleasure to be here.